That's okay though. For being so young, you're very, very smart. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So keep up the good work, man, and stay flat, okay?
Okay, I'm a flat earther. She couldn't do it. I'm a flat earther. I'm a flat earther. I'm a flat earther. I'm a flat all she did was walk away. And I was like, what is this about? What?
That's okay though. For being so young, you're very, very smart. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So keep up the good work, man, and stay flat, okay?
Okay, I'm a flat earther. Couldn't do it.
Up for sound bites. This is awesome.
All right, everyone, welcome back to Anti-Religious Scripture Study with me, Karen B, and of course, Just Jack Flat Earth.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Oh man, what is happening in the world today? Looking outside, I can see what's happening. Some things are getting greener. My chickens are laying more eggs.
Yeah.
Seems like there's a change happening. I put it in the chat that, within the next 9 days, if the barley becomes aviv, that means roastable and harvestable, then it will begin the new year at the first sight of the new moon. So that's coming. If our barley is not aviv in the next couple of weeks, then we will have a 13th month according to the Torah calendar, which we will be. I'll probably be looking at that again next week just to make sure. But I'll give my disclaimer, just Jack's disclaimer to the religious. If you believe it's wrong to study the scripture outside of your religion or denomination, if you believe your religious leaders or church fathers are incapable of having inherited anti-scriptural traditions of men, if you've already made up your mind about scripture, including the scripture shouldn't be studied at all, then this stream is not for you. To others, if you are open-minded to others' opinions, if you haven't made up your mind about scripture, if you've been turned off to religion but believe there's truth in scripture that may have been changed or hidden by religion, if you live according to scripture and like to dig in and discover more, then this stream is for you. We are looking at scripture in the original language using concordances or dictionaries for root words, as well as context from a non-religion perspective. We will as well have life experience discussion. We are not here to argue with others about theology or doctrine by the traditions of men, including Catholicism, Christianity, Islam, or Judaism. We will be discussing the importance of origins and show how religions contradict the scriptures. There we go. All right. Yes, flowers are blooming, indeed. One moment. Sorry about that. So, quick review of last week, or I guess it would have been the week before last. No matter. Last stream. We were talking about how hold on. Sorry about that. How the men are responsible for the women of his household's oaths, that he needs to make sure either that she sticks to it or that he cancels it out, because he's responsible to make sure that it's been completed. And that's basically the gist of that. And then before that, we found about the offerings, which went into the Moedim, the appointed times of Yah. So we're kind of like wrapping up the culmination of the book of Numbers, which is Bamidbar in the wilderness, and these final chapters are like a culmination of one more thing, right? So it's kind of like getting into the details of the things that needed to be reiterated, because Moses knows that his time is coming up. And the entire book of Deuteronomy is like Moshe's last speech. So it's getting pretty close to that time when they're going to be crossing over. So this particular chapter is when they start going to war with Midian. So if you want to, read into it, or any comments on the last few, or whatever you want to do there.
What do you mean?
Well, we could just get into this chapter, or we could talk about the last chapter, about the oaths thing, if you want. Either way.
What was the oaths thing? Maybe that's a good idea, because it's been a couple weeks now.
Yeah, so
it
was basically, when a man vows to Yehovah, or swears an oath, or binds himself to some agreement, he does not break his word, does according to all that comes out of his mouth, which is pretty much common sense, right? That's what an oath is.
Mm-hmm.
One thing to point out here is that I didn't mention is that they swear an oath to Yehovah, where some people believe it's not a righteous thing to swear by the name, but that was actually encouraged by the Creator to swear by Yehovah.
Mm-hmm.
But if a woman makes a vow and it doesn't work within the confines of the home, then the father can override it. However, if the father thinks that it's a good oath, then he is responsible to hold her to it, or it falls on him that it didn't get fulfilled. So that's basically what that one was about.
All right. Okay. That's right.
It was a pretty short one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's got a lot of heavy-handedness in it, but it is a short chapter, so we didn't get into it too much because it's pretty short, pretty straightforward, I think.
Right.
And the one previous to that was the offerings, which it kind of went down like almost like the generations. Like, this tribe brought this much and this much for sacrifice, and then on the next day they brought this much and this much for the sacrifice, and so on and so
That's
forth.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
But now we're getting into some nitty gritty, going
All right.
into war with the enemy. So
All right.
you can start reading whenever you're ready.
All right. And Yehovah spoke to Moshe, saying, "Take vengeance for the children of Israel on the Midianites. After that, you are to be gathered to your people." And Moshe spoke to the people, saying, "Arm some of yourselves for the campaign, and let them go against the Midianites to take vengeance for Yehovah on Midian."
Okay, so arm yourselves is draw out. So drawing out like your swords, like draw out.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so I was kind of wondering about after that you're to be gathered to your people. Not quite sure what that is in reference to this, but it could be talking to Moshe about his passing, or it could be about entering into the land that was promised to them. It's not even clear
Hmm.
what this verse is specifically talking about.
Right.
So,
Okay. Send 1,000 from each tribe of all the tribes of Israel for the campaign.
all right, so we're in definitely millions of people in Israel, and their request is, when I say this, only, it sounds kind of drastic, but only 1,000 of each tribe is basically very small in numbers of the entirety,
Mm-hmm. Um, so there were supplied from the tribes of Israel 1,000 from each tribe, 12,000 armed ones for the campaign.
Okay. So the sorry, the word for thousand is also the same word as oxhead. It's also the first word, the first letter in the Hebrew alphabet, which is the word aleph. Just FYI for interesting information.
Mm-hmm. And Moshe sent them on the campaign, 1,000 from each tribe, them and Pinehas, son of
Yeah,
Eleazar,
Pinchas.
Pinehas,
Yeah.
as son of Eleazar the priest on the campaign, with the set apart utensils and the trumpets for sounding in his hand.
All right. So that was the Levites, contribution into those who were going.
Okay. And they fought.
So
Oh,
hold on, just really quick, 1 second. So the trumpets for sounding, when they went to war, they would basically be able to navigate the entirety of the multitude, by certain trumpet blasts. Like this trumpet blast means retreat, this trumpet blast means um, attack, go in, this trumpet blast means to spread out, this trumpet blast means come together, stuff like that.
okay. And they fought against the Midianites, as Jehovah commanded Moshe, and killed all the males. And they killed the sovereigns of Midian with the rest of those who were pierced, Evi and Rechem and Sur and Hur and Reba and the 5 sovereigns of Midian, and they killed Bilam, son of Beor, with the sword.
All right, so do you remember Bilam?
I do, but I don't
Okay, so
remember.
Bilam was the one that was paid basically to curse Yisrael. Remember that?
Okay, right. But then he said he couldn't do
So,
it because he is
because Yah took him over, yeah,
right.
basically. So after those shenanigans, he started leading people to the worship of Baal Peor, right? The Lord of the Opening, right? Which
Mm-hmm.
was all the nasty shenanigans they were doing and whatnot.
Right.
So Midian had went that direction rather than worshiping the creator. They went after that rear end deity.
Hmm.
I don't know how else to say it. All right,
And the
31:9.
and the sons of Israel took all the women of Midian captive with their little ones, and took as spoil all their livestock and all their possessions.
All right.
And they burned with fire all the cities where they dwelt, and all their settlements. And they took all the spoil and all the booty, both of man and beast. I didn't know
Uh,
booty was in the Bible.
it's not. It's the word. It's the word pray. Okay, so pray as in they do take. Like if you have a lion and it's attacking something, it takes it, right?
Hmm.
From do take. It's the prey. So yeah, booty.
It's
I
like
mean, this
pirate,
is
but it's
like
not like booty like butt. It's booty like pirate booty.
right, pirate booty, right. I mean, I've had people talk about the Matrix, right? And the
Hmm.
Matrix is an old English word that we don't use anymore, talking about the womb,
Hmm.
So, yeah, it's pretty interesting to see the translation of booty in here. King James Version actually had it right with the prey. So the scriptures version changed it to booty, which is strange.
That is strange.
But anyway,
Sometimes they pick weird stuff.
yeah. Maybe it's a cultural thing too, because I think that the origination of the scriptures translation comes from North Africa
Oh,
or South Africa. I'm not sure which one
huh.
actually. I think it's South Africa actually.
Oh,
But
interesting.
maybe that's maybe prey doesn't make much sense to them, so they got to use booty.
I
I
guess.
don't know.
And they brought the captives and the booty and the spoil to Moshe and to Eleazar the priest and to the congregation of the children of Israel, to the camp in the desert plains of Moab by the Yarden of Jericho.
Okay, so the Yarden of Jericho is, most people will be familiar with crossing the Jordan to Jericho.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what this is they're literally like at the point where they're about to cross over into the quote unquote promised land. Um, I mean, it doesn't literally call it the promised land, so that's why I say quote unquote, but everybody knows what you're talking about when you say promised land, right?
Right.
The land flowing with milk and honey.
And Moshe and Eleazar the priest and all the leaders of the congregation went to meet them outside the camp. But Moshe was wroth with the officers of the army, with the commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds who had come from the campaign. And Moshe said to them, Have you kept all the women alive? Look, they are the ones who caused the children of Israel through the word of Balaam to trespass against Jehovah in the matter of Peor, and there was the plague among the congregation of Jehovah.
Okay, so what it was the Midians flipped to worship Peor, and then the women were instructed to go and seduce the men of Israel to follow after Peor also. And the um the plague was, them being brought over there and them dying from probably the shenanigans that they were doing. And then that ended when, a spike was put between a couple that was basically publicly announcing we're about to do these shenanigans. So,
Right, okay, I remember that.
and so it's like, if you leave these women alive, it's just gonna resurface. The whole process is gonna start all over again.
Right. And now kill every male among the little ones, and every woman who has known a man by lying with a man you shall kill. Eek.
Yes, it's war as hell.
But keep alive for yourselves all the female children who have not known a man by lying with a man. So keep the virgins.
Yeah,
And you camp out.
keep the ones who have not been keep the ones who have not been corrupted by this Peor worship
Right.
is basically.
And you camp outside the camp 7 days. Whoever has killed any being and whoever has touched any slain, cleanse yourselves and your captives on the 3rd day and on the 7th day.
Because they are now completely separated from Yah. They have to basically reboot before they enter the camp.
And cleanse every garment and every object of leather, all the work of goat's hair and every object of wood. And Eleazar the priest said to the men of the campaign who went to the battle, "This is the law of the Torah which Jehovah commanded Moshe."
Okay, so the law of Torah gets confusing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because Torah is supposed to be the law. So what is the law of the law, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this is the inscription or the decree of the Torah, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this
Okay.
is where it gets convoluted in the translations. See, this one, King James Version says the ordinance of the law. That's actually more appropriate.
Okay.
Sometimes the Scriptures version, they're doing their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I think it's the best one to read from, it still, still raises flags, which is why I tell people always read multiple translations, and then when there's a distinction and difference, you can actually look it up and see why that difference is there. It'll help you study for sure.
It's really helpful. I love using this app.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, it helps you find all kinds of stuff. Okay. Only the gold and the silver, the bronze, the iron, the tin, and the lead. Every object that passes through fire you put through the fire, and it shall be clean. Only let it be cleansed with the water for uncleanness. And whatever does not pass through fire you pass through water.
Okay, so everything made of metal, you can obviously purify it with fire.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't do that, then you should at least make sure you wash it well with water,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it's talking about. Like, even though it may, I've heard people say, well, that's because everything had blood on it. And I'm saying, well, no, not necessarily. These are things that were involved in who knows what kinds of shenanigans. So you want to clean it up before it comes into the camp, you know?
Mm-hmm. And you shall wash your garments on the seventh day and be clean, and afterwards come into the camp. And Jehovah spoke to Moshe, saying, Count up the plunder that was taken of man and of beast, you and Eleazar the priest and the heads of the fathers of the congregation. And you shall divide the plunder into 2 parts, between those who took part in the battle, who went out in the campaign, and all the congregation. And set aside...
So there was no hoarding allowed, right?
Right. And set aside a levy for Jehovah on the men of battle who went out on the campaign, 1 out of every 500 of man, and of the cattle, and of the donkeys, and of the sheep.
Okay, so that's a tribute or a value from covering this levy.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a common word for me. So let's see what they have here. Yep, they said levy here as well. So do lift the tribute to Jehovah from action to the humans of the war. So that's what that is.
Take it from their half and give it to Eleazar the priest as a contribution to Jehovah.
Yeah, I was looking at King James Version there for a second. Okay.
And from the children of Israel, half you shall take, 1 of every 50 of man, of the cattle, of the donkeys, and of the sheep, of all the livestock, and give them to the Levites, guarding the duty of the dwelling place of Jehovah.
All right.
And Moshe and Eleazar the priest did as Jehovah commanded Moshe. And the booty remaining from the plunder which the people of the campaign had taken was 675,000 sheep, and 72,000 cattle, and 61,000 donkeys, and 32,000 human beings in all, of women who had not known a man by lying with a man.
All right.
And the half, the portion of those who went out on the campaign, was in number 337,500 sheep. 500 sheep.
Yep.
And the levy unto Jehovah of the sheep was 675. And the cattle were 36,000, of which they levy unto Jehovah was 72. And the donkeys were 30,500, of which they levy unto Jehovah was 61. And the human beings were 16,000, of which they levy unto Yehovah was 32 beings. So Moshe gave the levy, which was the contribution, unto Yehovah to Eleazar the priest, as Yehovah commanded Moshe. And from the children of Yisrael's half, which Moshe divided from the men who campaigned, now the half belonging to the congregation was 337,500 sheep, and 36,000 cattle, and 30,500 donkeys, and 16,000 human beings. Then Moshe took from the children of Yisrael's half one out of every 50, drawn from man and beast, and gave them to the Levites who guarded the duty of the dwelling place of Yehovah, as Yehovah commanded Moshe.
Okay, so these are incorporated into each of the tribes. And so Levi's tribe, which is the ones who do the service of the temple, that's what we're talking about. So when it talks about those who were taken in captivity, they were integrated into the Levite family. So they became Levites. Same as the other 11 tribes, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the officers who were over thousands of the campaign, the commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds, came near to Moshe. And they said to Moshe, Your servants have taken account of the fighting men under our command, and not a man of us is missing. So we have brought an
So they lost no men during the war. That's
crazy.
The point of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just killed everybody and they all lived.
Yeah, and you'll see as in the pattern when they move forward is like whenever they go to war at this point, they never lose anyone. And then when they start mixing, when they start worshiping other deities and whatnot, they start losing numbers. And then eventually they don't ask Yehovah to be in their favor at all, and they end up losing completely. So it's like this pattern of as much as they connect to Yah or how much they integrate other worships into how they worship Yah is how they lose less and less and less, where there's less divine favor.
So we have brought an offering for Yehovah, that every man found of ornaments of gold, armlets and bracelets and signet rings and earrings and necklaces, to make atonement for ourselves before Yehovah.
Okay, so in the definitions in both King James Version and the Scriptures versions, I don't necessarily agree with these translations of these different, armlets, bracelets, rings, earrings, necklaces, da 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the root of each word, it kind of like changes it. I mean, slightly. We're talking about just slight changes, but it's worth looking into each of the definitions of these words. Like for instance, I don't think there's any word in earrings other than the rings. So yeah, it's worth looking into for people who are interested.
And Moshe and Eleazar the priest received the gold from them, all the fashioned ornaments. And all the gold of the offering that they presented to Yehovah from the commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds was 16,750 shekels. The men of the campaign had taken spoil, every man for himself. And Moshe and Eleazar the priest received the gold from the commanders of thousands and of hundreds, and brought it into the tent of appointment as a remembrance for the children of Israel before Yehovah.
All right. So as we know, gold is being used for the elements in the tabernacle. So yeah, this is the contribution to Yehovah for the battle. All right. I know that this conversation will definitely, or this portion will definitely inspire rage for aggression towards certain people, and yeah, I get it. We live in a different world these days, so it's like Yeah, I don't even want to try to justify it. It's clear in the scripture what's happening here. So shout out to Just Osborne, Duke Nukem, Aisling 717. What's up, Cammy? Fast Eddie Flathead, Matrix Media, Chicago Artist, Brandon C. Good Times for All. What's up, Zach? William, who was awoken 66. Jay. Jay Heighton, Captain of Destruction, Brianna Lynn, Rasta Bear. What's up? I haven't seen you in a minute. Effed Up World. All right, there we go. Let's see. Oh yeah, so Cammy's talking about it is strange to have an early spring, but that's because the calendars don't line up, so they play catch up, right? That's why they have leap years and all that kind of stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Be the flower pot. Okay. Talking about spring stuff here. That's good.
Yes, I'm
Yeah,
ready for it to be warm again.
Brianna Lynn's like, yay, I'm actually catching this. And she catches it on like the roughest chapter we've been through yet.
I know.
Lots of booty in the Bible. Donkey was called ass back in the day. Yep, absolutely. Addendum of the law. Yeah, instead of law of the Torah, addendum of the law. That's pretty close. Duke Nukem says, now I understand Jaren. Yeah, it's a hard reality when I do believe that certain people need to be taken out. I believe there's people on earth today that need to be taken out, but that's neither here nor there. That's my opinion.
There's women and children actively being killed right now.
Yes. And
half the people don't care. So
there are people doing horrible, horrible things behind the scenes, and the whole family needs to disappear. So, all right. Anyway,
is that it? Any questions? Anybody have nothing like that going on? Alrighty.
Joseph Osborne says, looking forward to Passover and week of Passover is 2 words that threw me off. Passover. looking forward to Passover and unleavened bread. Okay. Which will be in a few weeks. If the barley is Aviv in the next couple weeks, which I believe it will be. There's a lot of pictures online of what the land looks like, and it's getting close. It's getting real close. And Captain Construction says, have blessed Passover and unleavened bread, y'all. Yeah. So yeah, next week I will review the calendar. It may be a short overview. I'm not quite sure, because I know that I probably want to hit it again when the actual Moedim come up in a few weeks, like we typically do. But I'll probably hit pretty hard on the Aviv barley. So next week it's the beginning of the settling in the land, because a couple of the tribes settle before they cross over. So they're like, we like this land over here on this side of the river. So that's what we're going to be talking about next time. Unless we do the Moedim. We'll see how it goes. But have y'all a blessed day, and a restful day.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time.
All right. Yeah. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Anti-Religious Scripture Study, and we'll see you all later.
And the earth is still flat.
And the earth is still flat. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.